Thank you very much. Mine will be very brief. I think as leaders of Mount Kenya, we are here to call out this illegitimate government in what we are seeing initially to be dictatorial tendencies. We saw and we are seeing how they are continuing to speak. We want to call out this government on especially the finance bill. If you look at the finance bill, for a government that has been saying they have women at the core of their government, you look at clause 17, what our vice captain has said, women groups will now be considered as businesses, attracting a 30% tax. And the story of Mount Kenya, especially those of us who have grown up in Mount Kenya, is that as our fathers were working, our mothers are very involved in chamas and in merry-go-rounds. And they really support the family unit. In fact, if you look at the data in the Ministry of Gender, the Mount Kenya region ranks highest in uptake of the Women Enterprise Fund and the lowest in loan delinquency. And therefore, when you begin to look at these women in the villages as whatever activity they're taking on as business activities, essentially what you're doing is killing that sector. As Mount Kenya leaders, we're also very aware that this regime would like to kill our small businesses. If you go through the finance bill, once again, if you sell chai and mandazi, those small vibandas that we have in the village, and you only sell 1,300 shillings a day, those are 10, 12 cups of tea and mandazi in the village, you will now be paying to this government about 15,000 shillings a year. So ideally, we see a regime that is out to kill our Mount Kenya businesses, that is going for women, I mean in very mundane and desperate things like trying to charge wigs and weaves and very small desperate measures. Most of those businesses that sell those wigs and do those beauty activity are owned and run by women. So as women of Mount Kenya, we are seeing a regime that is out to hurt our businesses, that is out to hurt our activities as women, and therefore we want to call them out at these very early opportunities to tell them we will not stop to say that, and we will not be intimidated to say that for an illegitimate regime, I think you have a lot of guts to do what you're doing. I thank you very much.
Governor Ruto.
Thank you very much. Let me say to you a bit in Kikuyu. You know, hiti ndereaga mwana, okay? No egenda kuria mwana yajagia kuga mwana ucio hiana mburi. Okay? So in our region there, the hyena does not eat its own child. But when the hyena is tempted to eat its own child, it begins to say that this child is smelling like a goat. There can be no doubt in your minds the reason our young people are being branded mungeke, the reason they are being branded as drunkards is because there is some ill intent on them. And that intention, my colleague Karogo has explained to you, including the little that they earn. So a young person who is doing digital creation, that maybe they are making a website for you, or they are making some promotion on TikTok or Instagram or something like this, will now be paying withholding tax, not at the normal rate of 5%, which others pay as professionals, but these young people will now, if this bill were to be passed, will be paying 15%, 3 times what other professionals do. It must be clear, certainly to all of us, that young people in Mount Kenya are being targeted very, very specifically, both economically and profiled, so that perhaps extrajudicial killings can now resurface. And we want to say to the entire world, and we hope you as communicators help us to tell the whole world, watch out. Honorable Mwathi. Karibu.
Thank you very much. Let me also join my colleagues and the leaders to also emphasize on the point that I have made about the youth in Mount Kenya. And I want to particularly speak to those youth. That yes, you youth, you are very good. Yes, you said you wake up to go and support a government that you thought was taking you to prosperity. But today, 8 months later, you are now being branded all manner of words. That you are not useful to that government cannot be gainsaid, because it means the government was only using you to get to power. And once they